I'm your host, BrightLearn, and today we're tackling a topic that has sparked intense debate, influenced global policies, and captured the attention of millions: climate change. Now, I know what you're thinking. Not another climate change podcast. But trust me, this isn't your typical rundown of doom and gloom scenarios. Today, we're going to take a closer look at a report that challenges the mainstream narrative and offers a fresh perspective on the causes and consequences of climate change. We're talking about the 2011 interim report on the Non-Governmental International Panel on Climate Change, or NIPCC, titled Climate Change Reconsidered by Dr. Craig D. Idso. Now, before we dive in, let's set the stage. The debate over climate change has been raging for decades, with the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC, often dominating the conversation with its dire warnings of catastrophic warming driven by human activity. But in 2009, a group of scientists, economists, and experts came together to form the NIPCC, with the goal of providing an independent evaluation of the scientific evidence. Their 2011 report is a fascinating read, and it's packed with revelations that challenge the conventional wisdom. So, let's break it down and explore some of the most intriguing findings. First, let's talk about how the climate debate has evolved. The report highlights several key events that have shifted the conversation. One of the most significant was the publication of a book by Mike Hume, a climate change professor at the University of East Anglia, who admitted to uncertainties within the climate change research community. Hume acknowledged that questions about the causes, rate, and dangers of climate change are far from settled. But the real game changer came with ClimateGate, the 2009 leak of emails from the Climatic Research Unit at the University of East Anglia. These emails revealed efforts by leading scientists to hide flaws in their evidence, exclude skeptics from journals, and withhold data from colleagues. This scandal raised serious questions about the transparency and credibility of the IPCC. The report also points out that many of the IPCC's key findings relied on non-peer-reviewed sources, including environmental advocacy group newsletters. As a result, the IPCC had to retract claims about Amazon rainforests, African crop harvests, Himalayan glaciers, and more. The report then shifts its focus to the political landscape. It highlights the failure of the 2009 Copenhagen Conference to produce a successor to the Kyoto Protocol, with developing nations like China and India refusing to commit to emissions restrictions. The report also notes the political realignment in the United States, with Republicans gaining control of the House of Representatives and many state legislatures in the 2009 elections. This shift has made the passage of cap-and-trade legislation unlikely. The report further criticizes the IPCC's reliance on the Clean Air Act to impose emissions restrictions, noting that the EPA's endangerment finding is being challenged in the courts due to its reliance on flawed IPCC science. Now, let's get into the meat of the report, the science. The NIPCC report challenges the IPCC's claim that most of the observed warming since the mid-20th century is due to human greenhouse gas emissions. Instead, it argues that natural causes are likely to be dominant. Here are some of the key points. Model limitations. The report criticizes climate models for overestimating warming and failing to incorporate important chemical and biological processes. It argues that models often diverge so greatly that they cannot validate each other. Forcings and feedbacks. While CO2 does have a warming effect, the report highlights the role of plant life in counteracting this effect. More CO2 promotes plant growth, which can lead to increased carbon sequestration and cooling effects through aerosol formation and cloud creation. Paleoclimatology. The report presents evidence of a medieval warm period around 1,000 years ago, when temperatures were warmer than today, despite lower CO2 levels. It also discusses the Little Ice Age and other periods of climate variability. Cryosphere and oceans. The report finds less melting of ice in the Arctic Antarctic, and on mountaintops than previously feared. It also notes no sign of acceleration in sea level rise and no changes in precipitation patterns or river flows attributable to rising CO2 levels. Extreme weather. The report challenges the IPCC's predictions of more frequent and severe extreme weather events, citing evidence that such events were more common during the Little Ice Age. Human health and environment. The report argues that a warmer world would be safer and healthier for humans and wildlife. It cites research showing that rising temperatures lead to a net decrease in human mortality due to fewer winter deaths. It also suggests that higher CO2 concentrations could benefit plant growth and increase the production of plant nutrients with medicinal value. Economic impacts. The report argues that the IPCC underestimates society's adaptive capacity and that the net effect of continued warming and rising CO2 concentrations is likely to be beneficial to humans, plants, and wildlife. The report also delves into the role of solar forcing, arguing that it plays a larger role than previously recognized. It discusses the potential mechanisms, including the perturbation of ocean currents, tropospheric winds, and cosmic rays. The report suggests that the warming effect of chlorofluorocarbons prior to their removal from the atmosphere may have been underestimated, which could help explain the global cooling trend since 2000. The report criticizes the IPCC's peer review process, citing the Inter-Academy Council's findings of crippling flaws. It highlights the lack of a conflict of interest and disclosure policy for IPCC leaders and lead authors, as well as the arbitrary selection of authors. Finally, the report emphasizes the NIPCC's commitment to producing an independent evaluation of the scientific evidence. It stresses that the organization is not predisposed to believe that climate change is caused by human greenhouse gas emissions, allowing it to consider evidence that the IPCC ignores. The report also notes that the NIPCC receives no government or corporate funding, further underscoring its independence. So, what does all of this mean? The NIPCC report challenges the mainstream narrative on climate change, offering a perspective that is often overlooked in the public discourse. It raises important questions about the reliability of climate models, the role of natural variability, and the limitations of the IPCC's approach. Now, I'm not here to tell you what to believe. The science of climate change is complex and multifaceted, and there are valid arguments on both sides of the debate. But what I hope you take away from this podcast is the importance of critical thinking and the need to consider multiple perspectives. As we continue to grapple with the challenges of climate change, it's crucial that we base our decisions on the best available science, while also acknowledging the uncertainties and complexities that surround this issue. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I hope you found this exploration of the NIPCC report as fascinating as I did. Don't forget to subscribe to the BrightLearn podcast for more thought-provoking discussions on the issues that matter most. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep seeking the truth.
This has been a BrightLearn video from BrightLearn.ai on the book Climate Change Reconsidered 2011 Interim Report on the Non-Governmental International Panel on Climate Change by Craig Idso. Visit BrightLearn.ai for more fascinating videos like this one, and visit naturalnews.com for full editorial coverage and breaking news on critical stories that keep you informed and aware of what's really going on.